Hello everyone, this segment is to let you know that this video contains a Stardock product and was made during the time that I was contracted as a content developer for Stardock Corporation, but was not made under that contract. Thank you for listening, please enjoy the video. Just getting weird here. Alright, hello everyone and welcome to 1v1 section of, I guess, our Winter Championship. This time we are going to be featuring Deathtacticus and Rhahi, and Gameslayer is actually going to join us for the first time. Haha.
Hello, excited to be here, folks. Not excited for this map that they're about to play on, oh god.
There is a found location. I've found it.
Yep.
Let's see who takes a robot there and wins the game.
There is something to be made in the top left. There is something there, but it's far from the aluminium. There we go.
Alright, it's an expansive play.
Yeah, all three aluminiums are right there. You can just take them all if you wanted, but nope. Alright, Rhahi. Okay. It's a found.
I mean, it is a thing. I wish I could see. I don't believe I have the ability to check on this, but I wish I could see exactly how long that aluminum tile is protected for, because I feel like you just have to suck it up
more
and
seconds.
take the medium. Yeah.
The medium is not. Yeah, the high is 27 seconds. I still have that. I don't know why you don't have that. I have that.
Interesting. Maybe it's just because I have certain settings disabled. Anyway.
Perhaps.
But yeah, I knew it was going to be a while. I feel like you probably needed to just take the medium. I mean, Rhahi does have the aluminum bought up to go ahead and upgrade, so we'll be able to pull through, but ugh.
Absolutely. If I was DT right here, I would have taken that medium.
Now the high is gone anyway, so.
I would have taken the medium, I would have rotated the high that he already has into one of the two steel mines, steel mills, and just completely dominated Rhahi over here.
It would have been pretty straightforward to just take that aluminum tile. I mean, there is another high aluminum available, so I don't know if it's actually worth it. It is far away, but do you really want to be trying to shove debt down your opponent's throat when you found it with 34,000 of it? It just doesn't seem like a great decision.
I think you do, because that's just cash going into you right now, right? DT has very little fuel use right now. He could really have monopolized that.
He could have potentially made something of it. I don't mind his decision, though. Just going to be moving into farms. That's straightforward.
Yep.
Good decision. I don't really know why. Actually, I do understand why he put up some iron mines first. Obviously, the iron mines are free. So that's very straightforward, but clearly planned that they were going to move into something else before too terribly long. Even kind of a nice decision only doing 2 steel mills, I think, for the time being. And he can move around later.
He's trying to compete with that. He's going into his own farms. He did get a water pump of high right at the very start, so he can afford it.
Yeah, I think this is possibly an okay decision. My big concern here is Rhahi needs to pull in enough cash to scrape together a power surge, frankly. Especially because Deathtacticus has made a claim purchase. This is where you can come back right now. DT is committing to a long-term play. You freeze out his food, you take that money for yourself, and maybe you've got a chance to get something done here. I don't know if it's what's going to happen, but it's definitely the kind of play I'm looking to make.
I'm a little worried where that claim went. It went to a low carbon tile. It is a chem colony. We haven't mentioned that, and there is some electronics now on the way. But I would have loved to have seen a third steel or a third farm or a geothermal at this point, rather than a carbon. Yeah,
that carbon tile does feel weird, especially because you are starting to push fuel into a more difficult place. So even if you're trying to just make sure that you've got chems available for later, you're driving up that fuel price in order to do it. I don't know. Seems a little strange to me, but we'll have to see what DT decides to do with it later.
Still gets the level up before the scavenger. That's not a good spot for the scavenger to be
Somebody
in
take
at all.
this. Okay.
Yes.
It was just... We were letting that go, and I'm like, come on, guys. Come on. It's a solar panel. You can take a solar panel. It's not going to kill you.
I don't know. If I was DT, I would have been tempted to just let it go for nothing. You know, it's really far away. Well, it's really far away, so he doesn't want it, but he just wants to make sure Rhahi has to pay for it at least. But Rhahi's only going to get it for 8k. That's pretty good for him, because he was moving into glass anyway. And that is the only silicon on the map, pretty much, at that spot.
Well, there is another one that's a little bit closer. You've got another high silicon available. It's all up in that area, but it is interesting to see these glass kilns having come down already. I really am not particularly sure that was the best of decisions. They are not making a lot of money. They're driving up the price of silicon on top of that, and while you do have access to some now, we're actually going to take both high tiles. That's bold.
That's a lot of fuel loss.
Yeah. And let's see, it is a quarry going out for this close one. I am assuming we're going to see a solar panel on the far one, but we'll just have to see what Rhahi decides. Rhahi has kind of caught up in some ways. Pretty close on cash levels, upgrade levels are even, but DT does have these wind turbines secured.
Yes.
And defended
These
against
wind
power
turbines.
surges and circuit overloads.
Yes, he bought that goon squad quite a bit earlier, perhaps hoping to bait out the placement of the circuit overload, which is available on this map, and that's very devastating against wind turbine things. Usually, if they're not actually defended, but they are defended. Fortunately, now DT has been telling me that I should be going into wind turbines a lot, and he loves his wind turbines, so it makes a bit more sense now why he went into that carbon tile at the start.
Oh, I love wind turbines in 1v1 in particular. They're potentially a very, very powerful tool. And you're right that it does make sense that he would want carbon in order to secure those. If that was his long-term plan, he probably needed either carbon or silicon. Maybe a little bit easier to go ahead and make sure he's in that carbon market when the colony isn't consuming a lot of glass and there's just not going to be too much glass needed across the course of the game. So I do like that decision.
I would have been... There we go. I was about to say, is he going to place this mutiny on there? And he absolutely does. That is a play I really love to see. Carbon is at 71 right now. It's going to cost the scavenger player a ton to upgrade, and DT's going to make a lot of money back from him placing all those wind turbines and driving up that price.
Yeah, I really do like taking away the carbon from the scavenger. It is interesting to see that he's selling it down already, but it can work out okay.
Yeah, I mean, the scavenger player himself was only working on a low and medium. That's the bare minimum that you could possibly work it for, and now it's just got a lot worse. Right, he's going to stall quite heavily here for a bit, at least.
Yeah, I do find it an interesting detail that DT had also kind of anticipated the mutiny back and bought up another one immediately. He waited on that mutiny until he could purchase a second mutiny. So he mutinies, buys another one immediately, but Rhahi chooses not to take the tile back anyway, potentially having seen the additional mutiny get bought up, just choosing, I'm not going to fight over that claim for now. And that's kind of a really big swing. Mutinies, one of the most powerful black market tools in 1v1. If you can take something from your opponent, give it to yourself, that's always going to be a fantastic thing.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'm dropping frames. That is unfortunate. Well, we can just keep going. I'll have the local recording for later anyway.
Yes, good. You're dropping a little in Skype, but whatever. I noticed as well that DT has transitioned completely into his electrolysis at this point, as we talked about with the fuel previously. That is $100 a second being lost on that high elemental quarry.
DT says game is stuck. Okay, he's apparently fixed it. We'll just have you host after this.
Okay, sure. Yeah. The mutiny, again, just no carbon being allowed by Rhahi at all. Just DT is now upgraded. Rhahi is struggling so heavily. Expansive for the slowest to upgrade, but DT is managing to get there far before Rhahi. And DT is probably looking to move into some chems soon because he's dropping that fuel price a little bit. Okay, he's moving into the farms first. That makes a lot of sense. Food did crop back up just slightly. And notice as well, Rhahi still hasn't done anything with that high silicon tile he paid 8k for.
Yeah, I really don't like the fact that this high silicon hasn't been used at all yet. I mean, power is a little super dead at this point, but if you're going to take a tile, at least do something with it. Maybe could have held on to some of these claims that were put into wind turbines for later. For the moment, it's not making a huge difference with this dust storm going on and power at $10, but hopefully Rhahi will remember that, keep it in mind for the future, and remember to commit power there later and maybe do some rotations with these closer tiles.
I thought I was looking at Rhahi's resources for a second there, but no, DT does have a stockpile of 300 carbon right now.
Yeah, pretty ridiculous amount. And that's going to work out well for him. As you've been talking about this whole game, chemicals are really opening up as a strong resource to make money in. Having access to that carbon, going to make sure that that's the case, and also keeping carbon stockpiled, doing a nice job of keeping that price high so that Rhahi still has a hard time even putting buildings down, much less making, a decent amount of money, upgrading, or being a threat at all to DT.
I'm surprised these farms have stayed up as they have been through this dust storm because there is more to place instead, but he's going to hit that upgrade button very shortly, and then he'll, it doesn't really matter that he spent all those claims on the greenhouse farms.
Absolutely, and on top of that, I mean, yeah, you can scrap the farms, you can move them out, but the dust storm's over in 27 seconds, and at that point, they'll be functional again.
Oh, 6k financial instruments. Okay.
Not
well, I guess
necessarily a game changer, but still a nice pickup.
It's a nice pickup. It's gonna earn him a good like 10, 12k when the thingy hits.
Yes,
That's a
when
word.
the thingy hits,
The
when the
thingy.
proc hits, when the debt ticks, Rhahi will be making a little bit of cash off of that. We'll have to see exactly how much when it comes around. I imagine for the moment it's not going to be that big a deal with only the 9% interest rate, but potentially later in the game we could see something solid out of it. Electrolysis reactors going away. DT steel's still pretty pricey. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. We see him actually moving into a steel mill, a hacker array, and a metal mine. All right then.
Yes. Also, meanwhile, whilst that was going on, Rhahi stole with the mutiny a carbon quarry of DT, and DT just throws them all outright. He's like, "You cannot
Yep.
have carbon in this game, Rhahi."
Nope. No carbon for you. Yeah, really would have been nice to see out of Rhahi a goon squad on that medium carbon tile once DT had started focusing so much attention onto it, even in this situation where if you had mutinied one away, then you would still have two of your tiles defended. Power Surge is just not all that effective against that middle goon squad if it had existed.
You say to defend it. I say to just at least buy a goon squad at this point to have a threat that you might have defended it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Doesn't necessarily have to go there, but at this point, DT is stealing all of the cheap goon squads.
Yeah, and that's always always a problem. You need to be able to grab those goon squads up. Just make your opponent consider, does he actually want to attack you at all? Because suddenly you have a goon squad and he has to decide, I need to use this spy, I need to see what's going on. And you're just forcing additional considerations from him. That takes up time, that takes up energy. It's just things he's not paying attention to, like killing you with this hacker array off in his corner. Speaking of that hacker array, looking pretty dangerous, just hacking the iron.
Yeah, another freeze on the carbon going by DT. DT is making sure this doesn't happen. And I am very surprised that it's an iron shortage over, say, a chems shortage. Because he had to know he was going to transition very soon into chems.
It's fair. I don't really mind the iron shortage all that much. I mean, DT does have access to a pretty significant amount of iron over here. High iron, low, and then low, low as well.
It is safe.
It is. I think it's fine.
Ooh.
Oh, Patent Lab.
Patent Lab, and also the Pleasure Dome in a beautiful, beautiful spot right next to the colony in 4 adjacency right there.
Yeah, and Pleasure Dome is actually worth something this game. I mean, we have the Expansive player from DT, we have Scavenger for Rhahi. I believe those are the top 2 contributors to Pleasure Domes these days. And so that is going to be worth something. And this Patent Lab is just kind of icing on the cake. You can grab virtual reality with that, no problem.
Yep.
And it just secures you for late game as well if you want to grab thinking machines. It's not drilling anything.
If you want to grab that carbon scrubbing, if somehow your 450 stockpile is not enough to see this game through. I am surprised though that he actually bothered upgrading to 5, because he could probably just end this game right about now with a shortage hacked by.
I was a little surprised to see the upgrade to 5 as well, especially considering that steel was pretty darn expensive. And that would have been available for a hack. I mean, iron is available for a hack, but you see this is what happens when you try and hack iron. You just end up killing the price anyway because you've overwhelmed everything so badly.
Yes.
Sometimes a little better to just overproduce steel for a bit and hack that as well. But
yes, it was a beautiful natural shortage of carbon there for DT, and I think Rhahi might have bought slightly into that or something, because the price spiked up to 120 and DT just sold that all down. Yep. And now he's got enough money to just make a run on this.
Yeah, things not looking good for Rhahi at all. Just all of these are mediocre money makers at best. There's nothing super fantastic like DT's chem refinery is available. DT, even if he can't clean it up right here, which Rhahi does have the ability to buy up the last little bit of her own stock, things are still just not looking pretty in any way. I mean, you're up against a level 5 expansive player who has one of each advanced building that's not an off-world market. All you've got is this puny little hacker array trying to work on silicon, and silicon.
Why are you working silicon? Why is he working silicon, and why is this high tile still not underused? Still not used? What the heck?
Yeah, I really would have liked to see power come down there at some point. Makes it easier to swap out of these wind turbines if you want to later on. I mean, just would have been a potential edge that you could take, actually making use of that tile, but oh well.
I really don't like as well. DT is auto-selling down chems right now. I don't know why, because the colony is taking 1.2 chems a second, which is the equivalent of a hacker array hacking chems full time.
Yeah, I don't know that that's the right decision out of DT to sell down his chems. It feels like he's just trying to create cash in order to get so he can purchase a large amount of iron with just his stockpile of money. But I do agree that it's an unnecessary detail for the time being. There is no reason to be selling down chems. But on the other hand, when you have this big a lead, maybe you could just get a little lazy, and that's okay.
I know.
It lets you focus
DT
your attention elsewhere, right? It's just not that big a deal.
Yeah. DT, however, specifically said that he asked me to cast so that I could complain about his mistakes. So that is what I am doing right now.
Wow, DT,
Yes.
come on. What is this garbage that you're doing right here? I went and I posted on the subreddit just like 2 nights ago about how you don't auto sell things down if you expect the price to go up. And guess what? The price is going up. Come on, DT.
Oh,
There you go, guys.
Alright, just need another 200k to finish off this game. We never even looked at Offworld prices. They're probably not going to be a factor, but, you know, food's decent.
Food's fine, yeah. Chems are good.
Yeah,
I mean, not right
steel's
now,
actually
because
pretty good.
chems are on world pretty expensive, but chems and
Yes.
food are the same price, so...
This iron hack is, that's going to go, do you reckon that's going to go to $1?
I mean, I think, yeah,
Yes,
primary
$1.
resources move so fast in 1v1 in particular. Like,
Absolutely.
it's really difficult. I really hate hacking primary resources, quite frankly. It's something I avoid at all costs if I can manage it. I'd rather just see steel hacks coming out, but that's fine.
Yes, I recall back in the old days, people were always like, you should hack carbon scavenger. That never went well for me.
No, because primary resources just move so quickly that those hacks aren't going to make one bit of difference, especially compared to the sheer amount that you're pulling in any given moment. But
I think I would have liked to have seen a second hacker array at this point from DT. He has the claims available. He's got 2 metal mines here. One of them can be removed effectively because it's not really... Iron's cheap.
we're
It's
basically
kind of a
complaining at this point that DT
Yes.
isn't finishing this game fast enough.
Absolutely.
Could be finishing it faster with additional hacker arrays.
Look, my time's very important. He's paying me by the hour. Wait, no, he should increase the... Go longer, DT, go longer. Damn it, I ruined my own joke.
It was a good effort, but no, I understand where we're coming from. And it would be nice to make things a little more interesting, but the reality of the situation is DT got a fantastic found, and I think Rhahi made a serious misstep on HQ1, and then made continuing mistakes throughout the remainder of the game when it came to defense of her carbon tiles. And
Yes.
all of that put together means that DT was he was a little more focused. He had a good idea of what he was doing from the very start of the game. And that all comes together for a pretty clean and easy win for him. He didn't get to the majority because, well, Rhahi wasn't quite that far out of it. But HQ5 to HQ4, expansive to Scavenger, that's not the way that's supposed to go.
But I mean, he is in 163k debt, you know. Think of the financial instruments.
I seem to remember somebody surviving with almost 3 times that amount of debt earlier.
Yes, but he was also in the lead for the entire game. So
That's fair. It's reasonable.
Rhahi has made 12k, well, 11,679 to be precise, off of the financial instruments so far. That's actually a lot lower than I thought it would be.
No, that sounds about right. I mean, it takes a lot of debt for financial instruments to really start racking up, especially in a 1v1 game where you only have one person you're making money off of. DT's just about to that 100%.
Yep.
Just there it is. Sell
Yep,
down,
there we
finishes
go.
it up.
There we go. Just one real quick thing before we go into the analysis. I really liked how when Rhahi started mutinying DT's carbon, DT responded by buying up a ton of fuel. Because Rhahi was leaking so much fuel from 3 carbon claims. And it really, really helped.
Yeah. No, buying fuel, always a great move if your opponent's doing a bunch of shipping. And you're not. I mean, even if you are, if you can get away with buying up that fuel, that's still going to be just fine for the most part if you're not too worried about debt. And especially if you're making fuel yourself, which DT was, of course, doing.
Indeed.
All right. Well, I don't have much more to talk about here.
Oh, we kind of did that in the end game.
Dome was really dumb. We could talk about that. Plush Dome was really dumb.
It paid itself off when he got the virtual reality, I guess.
Oh yeah, virtual reality was fantastic. I mean, DT
It
picked up
it made
a slew
100k.
of completely
We complained, but it made
unnecessary
100k.
patents. I will complain about the fact that DT got this many patents because it just made the game last longer. But it's not a big deal, I guess. fine. He had the late game sewn up at that point. That's what we talked about when the Patent Lab came down is, all right, well, that's late game security for DT. I guess there's literally no way he loses this game now.
Absolutely.
That's fine. Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to round 2 of our 1v1 between Rhahi and Deathtacticus. Deathtacticus taking the first one quite cleanly. We'll have to see if Rhahi can put up a better fight this time. I know I've seen it from her before. Once again, Gameslayer joining us for commentary. Why is this happening?
Yeah,
You've looked in the northwest corner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There seems to be 2 found locations. One of them has combo tiles, which is beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, just... Alright, we'll see what it's worth, once again. Not the 34,000 of last game, apparently. Rhahi instead going to choose to take it for 28.
Okay. I mean, I can understand why. There is a good expansive spot still, and the expansive spot is slightly closer to the water, and by slightly I mean a lot closer to the water. There is the southern water for Rhahi to take, and as a robot they don't consume their own water, so it'll probably be enough. Yeah,
it should be alright, and of course not too much farther away you do have the 3 tiles if you needed them, and in any case, I do gotta say though, I like DT's found. The combo tiles, they're really tempting. They are extremely powerful. Don't get me wrong. They're great tiles to have, especially because it's a medium-low, and there's no underground nukes this game. But as an expansive player, you're already kind of making up for the fact that you're against a robot. You're going to get extra claims that you can spend on aluminum and iron as you need it. Iron, not going to go that nuts because both players have access to plenty of it. You can see Rhahi, in fact, has already moved into a second steel mill.
Oh dear.
Because that's what you gotta do when steel is this expensive. DT has actually bought an extra claim as well because steel is expensive. I was a bit surprised we didn't just see, I gotta admit, iron and double steel mill out of Deathtacticus and just buy up the 80 he needs immediately on founding.
To be honest, I would have been very tempted to move the expansive location just slightly up a bit and just crush some of this iron and just go into triple steel and aluminium myself, but
that would have been an option as well. Double and or triple steel plus one aluminum. Save that iron for later, but
ooh, I thought Rhahi might try this. All of the claims are right next to each other right now, and we have EMPs on the market and slowdown strikes.
All right, let's see it. DT has just upgraded, but if he's doing what I expect he's going to be doing, which is literally just steel and water.
Yep, steel, good split.
Steel, water, probably an extra iron to go with this.
Okay, Rhahi cancelled the 5th claim and has moved the steel around a bit, so it's not going to be completely crippling.
A bit, maybe not as much as it should have been, but that's okay. This is another advantage that I actually like from expansive in 1v1 that I think a lot of people don't account for, is the fact that your base is so big, you can actually spread stuff out really effectively early on.
Yes, if Rhahi had moved those 2 steel mills to where the aluminium in the north is, that would have dropped the freeze down to like 10 seconds, 15, rather than to the 35 that she ended up getting from those 2 steel mills, unfortunately.
Yeah, that EMP, definitely a big deal. Not at all comfortable with that happening. Let's see, what are we looking at? Steel's just not very good to make anymore, I guess.
No, DT has crushed it. DT's crushed it. He's managed to crush it and auto off already on Rhahi because Rhahi doesn't have any iron in their stockpile because they decided to transition out of the iron in HQ1 after they made that previous mistake.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a problem there for Rhahi. I think it's going to be all right. And Rhahi does have this interesting little bit of carbon bought up right now. I do wonder if that's just a plan for wind turbines at HQ2, or what Rhahi is expecting for the time being. Worth noting, of course, that there's dry ice everywhere on this map, and carbon will be plentiful for our players if they remember that dry ice gives them carbon, which I expect these two will.
Maybe. Did Rhahi just do that in response to the immediate power shortage we're seeing right here, which has risen the price significantly?
I mean, Rhahi had that already, I think, a significant amount of it bought up, but interesting bid on this high water tile in particular.
Okay.
That's going to be expensive to ship for the moment.
I'm getting flashbacks to the Silicon last time, except they're actually using the tile this time at least, but still, they're 2 unconnected high tiles.
That EMP, you can see how much it hurts. The fact that DT has managed to upgrade before Rhahi. Also worth noting that there are a couple machine shops at the colony, and glass started very, very cheap, whereas electronics started at its middling price this time. So that does not give the robot quite the edge in upgrades that they would normally expect from the maybe reduced price of electronics compared to glass, because you only need half of them.
Those freighters are costing power as they're flying through the air as well. Rhahi needs to get some power down. DT stole the geothermal, so they're not going to get the geothermal, so they're going to have to go into wind turbines as they wanted in the first place, though.
I was going to say, there are like 1 billion geothermals on this map, so... And by 1 billion, I mean like 8, 7, whatever.
There's 7. There's exactly 7.
There's 8. Don't lie to me.
There's 7.
It's not.
I can press tilde and check.
I think you're wrong, but it's fine, because DT has 2 geotherms bought up. Claimed.
Damn, so he does. I lose! No!
It's alright, it's alright. Yeah, DT's working on getting power online now. It is interesting to me that he chose the geotherms. I mean, he is expansive, so I think it's going to be fine. On top of that, there's no good access to silicon, even though he does have access to carbon for wind turbines if he had elected to go that direction. And the big thing is that there's dynamite and slowdown strikes available this game, so you kind of want to get a goon squad on the geotherm, but there's not even a guarantee that it's going to last. On top of that, there are spies to fight against the geotherms. I mean, DT, this is almost just a move that only really works because you had such a significant lead over your opponent from that initial EMP. If it weren't for that, DT might be in some trouble with these geotherms.
See, guys, I'm not insane going double geothermal. It's just, I did it wrong.
You do it badly. Yeah, it's fine.
And DT is showing that he's not.
No, you absolutely can go double geothermal. If you're going to do it, you do it as an expansive player, typically. Man, that is aggressive, actually. I like it, though. I mean, 86 for carbon. Now we're up to 94 for carbon. DT's actually made a real serious effort to buy into carbon and keep that price high. This is despite the fact that Rhahi has these solar condensers because he knows Rahi's trying to get that power online right now. And it's a big problem to not get those wind turbines up and running.
Absolutely. Just throw the dynamite right back at them. Taps the goon squad, hits the wind turbine.
Think of machines. All right.
16k. Whoever gets this is going to go into C debt, but it's definitely worth it.
I mean, DT can upgrade right away.
Oh,
so
he upgrades. Okay, so never mind then. And he is making so much power money right now. And by so much, I mean not as much as what you'd expect in a tournament, but it's so much because it's geothermals compared to wind turbines.
Yeah, exactly. And 600's pretty decent for power money, and he'll be able to keep that functional for quite some time. He already has that spy watching Rhahi's power. If he wants to, he can EMP that out, even, move it a little bit maybe so it doesn't run into his geotherm. Slowdown strikes available, dynamite available. Oh, wow. Wow. DT, that's what we call a mistake. But that's who it's... All right, DT, here you go. Here's the mistake. You didn't need to EMP that tile because that tile was closer to your geotherm. You EMP the southern tile, and then your geotherm is frozen for like 10 less seconds, 15 less seconds.
Yep. So much more worth it. So much more worth it.
You've even got a spy there. EMP'd it, though.
Yes, absolutely. It definitely was a good... Why did you blow up a frozen geothermal?
I think it's okay. You don't waste that much time. I mean, the ship gets to fly while the tile is frozen, but the repair doesn't get to start, so...
Right, but you could just take the dynamite and then not use it whilst you wait for your black market to come off cooldown. He wasn't desperate to use the dynamite right there.
He wasted like 10 seconds of a freeze, which is about the same amount that DT should have not been frozen for in the first place if he hadn't screwed up, so I'm calling it a wash.
But Rhahi spent money on the dynamite.
It's not important.
More importantly, Rhahi has transitioned into greenhouse farms, but I noticed he transitioned out of something else into steel mills, and then after the steel mills finished, transitioned into greenhouse farms. He just does not know what to use with those tiles right now. If he's having trouble at HQ3, wait until he gets to HQ4 and has a whole new 4 claims to use.
Yeah, I'm also just concerned about this because Rhahi, even with this water that's been claimed up, she can't transport this water.
Yep, turns them off because of the power plays.
Yeah, power's too much of a problem. Solar flares come in now. DT managed to get a couple solar panels down, went ahead and took one of the high silicon tiles on this map.
The proper tile to freeze this time.
All right, yeah, and I mean, I think he was pushed there because maybe the goon squad...
He noticed the goon, yeah.
Yeah, he was like, there's a goon squad there under my spy. Maybe I shouldn't hit that tile. So Rhahi helping him out a little bit.
Maybe I'll make the lesser play.
Yeah, I do find it interesting that not only was DT attacking the wrong tile, Rhahi then defended the wrong tile.
Yes.
It's just... Little details here and there that don't make any difference whatsoever, because I'm having trouble keeping this game interesting when our expansive players HQ4 against an HQ3 robot. What I do want to point out for people is this is how much damage an HQ2 EMP can do. I'm just saying.
Yes, absolutely. This is why you have to. This is why you have to split your steel better. I would not have.
Yeah.
Robotic adjacency is nice, but not nice enough to lose you the game.
Exactly.
Over
And
giant.
something to keep in mind as well, when you're against an opponent who's split his steel in particular, if you could still scrape some cash together, just hit their iron instead. Just attack
Yep.
their iron, buy up iron, and then you've kind of compensated for the fact that, all right, well, they were split up a little bit, but I managed to hit this, and maybe it's not as effective as if I had just EMP'd all 4 of their steel mills if they had put them next to each other, but at least I'm doing something to counterattack. Don't just sit there and watch money slip through your fingers and into the other player's hands. That's a guaranteed way to
And
lose.
that's why I highly disagree with DT's suggestion that you only need to go 1 iron mine if iron starts cheap and steel starts cheap. But anyway, DT decided to hack power, and then he remembered to turn off the auto cell because he was hacking it and it was staying at $1. And I'm surprised he isn't going for another hack during this nighttime. He could definitely make the price quite high, but he's going for the chems hack instead because chems are worth so much because New Berlin is those efficient Germans have decided to make those chems expensive.
Yes, they have. I got nothing. Chems are good. DT is making.
All right,
them.
I
He's
built
in
something
D
else.
levels of debt.
I built something else then.
All right, you go
DT
ahead.
decided to transition into solar condensers as night was beginning. It's an interesting
Wow,
choice.
DT. Wow. Seriously? You're gonna
Seriously.
make solar condensers at night? You know that
Oh.
nighttime is when solar power doesn't happen? I'm just saying. Man, I don't know. I like how he's buying up water despite the fact that he's leaking water just to try and hurt his opponent even more. That's just all DT is focused on right now, is damaging his opponent as much as humanly possible.
He does not realize just how much of a stockpile Rhahi has at this point. 320 water.
Yeah, if Rhahi sold that down, that would probably be a very positive thing right now, but
Oh,
DT sells
fan.
out instead. That's
Rhahi
good.
lost 16k's worth of resources. I just watched as that went down.
Oh, and a water surplus coming in. That's even more interesting. That would have been really interesting. Rhahi could have almost not quite gotten back into the game, but done something maybe.
Maybe got to HQ4.
Yeah, maybe got to HQ4 off the back of that
You
water
had
play by
water, sad.
DT.
Crying face. Absolutely.
On the bright side, I'm kind of glad she didn't because, frankly, DT's at that 95%.
Yep. Buying his own stock, buying into them because you might as well buy into your own stock whilst you're waiting, I guess. Not really. I mean, you can sell that stock down a bit. You can sell that stock down for that extra like 4k, but like you still lose a good like second or two down. But whatever, it's still perfectly fine. That's a way of eking out an extra like 500,000 if you don't think you can afford to get to the buy immediately. And there's the buy. Majority HQ3 versus HQ5 expansive. That's why you split your steel
That is indeed why you split your steel.
and go into more than 1 iron mine.
Yeah, there's that too. But that didn't really come into play here all that much. I mean, it was just... Rhahi, I think, got blinded in the combo tiles and didn't really understand the fact that even though there were combo tiles available, there was another, not just acceptable, but actually really good location not very far away for this map in particular. Still had access to dry ice, still had decent aluminum, solid iron available because there was just so much of it in this corner. Ugh.
Absolutely, that water as well. Like, I feel like this was probably maybe a 10k found for this combo tile, maybe, if that.
I would have really wanted to found second, if I'm being honest. Like,
Yes.
I don't know. Because there was this second spot available that was just so good. Yeah, you can found first, but if you're gonna found first, not only is it a 10k found, maybe, I actually think it's a 0 found because you really want to be expansive if you're gonna do that, so you don't give up that advantage. You don't have to take this as a robot this time because it's not 28. Was it 28,000 more valuable than the
28.
next tile? It's maybe a little more valuable. But remember that they're already getting an extra claim over you, and they get faster access to the black market. Do you really want to give yourself $28,000 of debt on top of that? I don't think so.
Yeah, if you're gonna take this spot, you really need to take this spot as an expansive, in my opinion. Like you're gonna be floating so much aluminium that you're not gonna have a problem with that, right? Yes? No?
Sorry, I was reading what Dubin was saying, and
Oh, sorry.
exactly,
Okay.
I needed to spell out in one moment exactly how wrong it is. What were you saying?
I would have rather Rhahi have found it as an expansive there. They're going to be floating a lot of aluminium, so that's not a problem. And they've got the 2 geothermals close enough, and expansive has the cheaper geothermals if
Yeah.
you're not going to go for that carbon play, which is not that easy to go for. One person's going to get into it, the other one is not.
Yeah. Anyway, it is totally acceptable to found for $0 in 1v1 if you think that your spot is one claim more valuable / access to the black market later more valuable than the next spot down.
Absolutely.
That's when you found for $0. If you think that you need an extra $200 to sweeten that pot, you wait for $200. If you think it needs an extra $3,000, well, you wait for $3,000 and then you take the second spot because your opponent almost certainly has started the game by now.
Yep. It's good to know as well. Rahi's biggest money earner was steel. He purchased 20k and sold 35.
Didn't even look because
Yep. He was so dead.
yeah, that was
That EMP.
yeah, that EMP meant the rest of that game was really not happening.